What is up, everybody? Ethan Lieber here, the Ginger Runner, for another Ginger Runner Live, episode number 49. And I feel like this is going to be a really awesome show because I have two guests on tonight, both of which I'm big fans of as runners, as people. They're local SoCal guys. They're amazing runners, very, very talented runners with pretty good resumes, but they had an experience this last weekend that I am really excited to talk about. Andy Pearson ran the Hurt 100 over in Hawaii, which is supposedly one of the most difficult 100 milers in the world, and he finished in 11th place, and I cannot wait to talk to him all about the show, or all about the race on the show, and of course joined by his crew and pacer Elan Lieber as well, and we're going to hear all about the things that Andy maybe doesn't want to talk about. Can't wait. So welcome to the show, everybody. This is Ginger Runner Live, episode number 49. Let's get started. Ginger Runner. Let's get started. Get started. That was like the best, worst intro ever. What is going on, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner here. Very, very excited for this episode because if you're a fan of the show or you've seen a number of Ginger Runner Lives, you know that I like to talk to people that run technical races. I'm a big fan of technical stuff, both trail, well, this not technical road, but technical ultras and technical short distance races on trails. I'm just a big fan of putting yourself through the ringer and getting your ass handed to you. This last weekend was one of the most difficult races, from what I've been told from multiple people. We had Gary Robbins on in the past, who's won this race multiple times. Yassine Daboon also has been on the show and has talked about this race. The Hurt 100 in Hawaii, the stories I've been told make it sound like it's this terrible beast of a course, of a race, technical, humid, really mountainous, and just nasty. Some of the finish times, to give you an example, are proof that this is not an easy course. The winning time this year was a 21-hour plus time, which is insane, to finish the 100-mile distance, and that was Michael Arnstein, the Fruitarian, for those of you who don't know, won this race this weekend. But on the show tonight, I'm joined by Mr. Andy Pearson, SoCal guy who ran the race this weekend, finished this race, and finished in the 11th place, which was incredible. And his crew and pacer, Elan Lieber, are here to join me. And I'm really, really excited. Here they are. What's going on, guys? We'll start with Andy. How are you, Andy? You're alive.
I'm alive, and I'm feeling pretty happy about that. I didn't know for a little bit there on Saturday night whether I'd actually make it to the show or not, but I'm happy to be alive today.
And you look fresh. I mean, you look great. You look fresh and clean.
Thanks.
Yeah, you got the mustache and the chops. You got it all. It's great.
I didn't even. It's just like a natural Hawaiian glow that's happening.
Super tan. You look great.
Yeah.
And Elan Lieber, who was in Hawaii but is not in Hawaii anymore. He is now in Aspen, Colorado.
Correct. Now working.
Globetrotting. Just a little globetrotter. Thank you for joining us. How are you feeling? Because you paced a good 40 miles of Hurt 100. How are you feeling?
I think I'm equally as tired. I passed out before Andy did, which I still can't believe, after the race with my laptop.
Yeah, we got back to the hotel room afterwards. Elan starts talking. He turns on the NFL game, starts talking, and passes out 3 minutes into it. I stay up drinking and went out for dinner and hung out until, I don't know, probably midnight or so that night. Or not, no, it wasn't that late, but Elan passed out a good 6 hours before me. I was up all night hanging out. I didn't sleep for basically 2 days straight after the race, starting from the morning of the race all the way through last night. I just didn't go to bed at all.
I mean, were you super loopy? Is that kind of the reason? It's just your body is so on fire at that point, just moving? No?
I just I don't know. For me, once I stay up, a lot of farting. There was a lot of farting that kept me up. And no, it's with races, I tend to if I'm up through the next day, I'm just up. My body just kind of adjusts and is all right, cool, we're into the next day, no need to sleep now. So I the more I run 100 milers, the more I find that the next day, or I don't like sleeping in general. I get kind of bored with it, so I just don't like sleeping after a race. It just doesn't make any sense.
I get bored with sleeping. That is so weird because I imagine a large portion of my audience is like, what? Who gets bored with sleep? It's the best thing ever. before we get too deep into the talk about Hurt, I really want to talk about like the lead up to it, your training and all that stuff. I got to give shout outs to a lot of our friends who were racing out there. Yassine Daboon, a friend of the show, had a really tough day out there, but raced his ass off for a huge portion. I think it was like 60 plus miles or something, and I can't wait to talk to him about his story. Kira Henninger, I've had her on the show before, an amazing race director from Southern California. She kicked ass out there, also finished Hurt 100. Gary Robbins did not race, but he was out there. Jameel Curry, another guest of the show, was out there, kicked ass as well. Josh Behringer, a friend of mine from Vancouver, also did well. It seems like everyone has the same thoughts coming out of this race, and that is that it is terrible, that it sucks, that it is hard, that it is one of the most difficult mental and physical things that they've done. Andy, put it in perspective. You've done a number of difficult races, including AC 100 last year, where you finished 8th place. Again, awesome.
Yep.
How does it compare to something like a mainland 100-miler that is notoriously difficult, such as AC? How does the Hurt 100 even place in this whole realm of 100-mile races?
The first word all yesterday after finishing the race, entering the race, was that this was just wildly irresponsible. Like, like it is irresponsible that they let people go out there and try to run this course. I think afterwards, as any 100-miler, you're like, as the pain kind of dulls, you soften a little bit, not that bad. But when you're out there, you're just like, they should not allow people to run this course.
Or pay.
That sounds terrible. That sounds awful.
People pace 40 miles. Like that's bad enough.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
I don't know if you guys watching live are getting Andy's full signal. Just FYI, he just picked up talking. I believe you guys can still hear him, but I'm going to interrupt real quick because Andy's coming to us from Hawaii, from a hotel or a cabin that he just checked into with okay Wi-Fi. So I might not hear him, but you will. So I'll try my best not to interrupt him if I lose his signal, but you'll hear him and I won't. And then Elan is coming to us from Aspen, also on some interesting hotel Wi-Fi. So we're going to do our best to make sure that all of the audio is heard. Don't worry if the video skips. It's all about the audio. So let me know in the chat room if you guys are missing anything. But I will try not to interrupt whenever they're talking if I lose them for any reason. Sorry to interrupt, Andy. I know that I think I caught you mid-sentence or something, but I lost you for a second. I just wanted to remind the audience. But yeah, and also pacing the 40 miles, Elan. So you got a good taste of the course because it's a loop course. Right. You do the same loop 5 times. You got to do 2 of those loops. What was your opinion on it? I mean, you got to touch it with your feet. You got to see it.
I was not that excited to go out for a 5th or my own second loop. We got in, and I mean, I've paced Josh Spector at San Diego 100. I've paced a friend at Western States, and it was both really awesome experiences and really tiring. But you still pick up somebody that's 2/3 somewhere around there into their race, and they're not moving quite as fast as you being fresh. And after that first loop, I was like, all right, like, you want to hang out here for a little bit? Like, this is really hard. It was pretty incredible. Like, it was really blew me away at how many people were out there and just going for it and just pushing beyond what I would ever kind of really consider ultra running. So to me, it felt like its own category of a race. Like, I can't imagine calling that an ultra run because there's so many obstacles out there that you don't think of in your training for running that it was insane.
Yeah. I told the race director afterwards. I said, "Hey man, this is not an ultra marathon. This is a 100-mile obstacle course."
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it's totally. I agree with that. It's just on a different level of the style of racing. I've had a really good success at some. I like gnarly races and I like stuff that really challenges you. But this is it's just a totally different style of course where you're constantly in danger of just falling and losing your teeth. Like one trip on a route and you're getting dentures for the rest of your life basically. So the funny thing is I'd heard all these horror stories about you can't get that much of a rhythm going because if anyone out there who's watching right now, just like Google Hurt 100 and just look at the Google images that come up. and you'll see what I'm talking about. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was actually surprisingly runnable in sections. You could get a pretty good pace going, but as you just got later in the day, as your body started basically breaking down, and you're using so much more lateral motion in your body than our suit. Like the first thing that went were actually like my IT bands on the top of the first hill. By the time I got to the top, those were already super tight, and then the inside started going. And so it's about being able to pick the day. You're just unable to really continue the movements that you'd normally be doing for running, because you're not training like moving left and right as you go out in your ultra and trail running. Certainly more so than roads, but I wish I had gotten like tires, like football style, and run through tires like left and right and really done that. Like if I ever do this race again, I really need to figure out a way to train my body laterally a lot more than you're used to in running.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I came back with the same sort of idea from Squamish 50/50 last year, because Squamish is notoriously technical,
Right.
and the North Shores of Vancouver are notoriously technical, and I've talked about it on the show endlessly. But it's a different style of running completely. You run in the mountains out here in Southern California, and you got technical, you got rocky and that kind of thing, but you're able to move forward a lot of the time. I can, just looking at the pictures from her, it hurts my soul a little bit, because you're not making so much forward progress as much as you're doing this forward, right?
Yeah. Well, it's that, and then it's
up and down. I mean, that was the other thing we kind of talked about during the race, is that there's just unrelenting in terms of it just does not stop being incredibly hard. Like there is no like, okay, we're gonna get on the road or a flat section for a mile. Like there's not a consecutive mile of really runnable terrain, and so that just eats at you because you're just always dealing with something on the course.
That's crazy.
You get up to the top of a climb, and you get up to the top of a climb, and there's like 300 feet of pavement, and that's about the most mild thing, like 300 feet of pavement, and then other than that, you're either going up or you're going down, and or on rocks and stuff like that. So today I was actually surprised. I woke up and my shoulders and my back and everywhere was really sore today, which sometimes you get from a pack, but I was really surprised. Like it was literally from pulling myself up on things and having to kind of climb down on stuff, and body race as well. You're sort of like swinging your arms around and fall down into like bamboo forest or something,
Yeah, that's funny. There's a lot of talk of Michael Arnstein in the chat room right now. For those of you who are watching live, if you guys have any questions for Andy or Elan, ask him. I have my eye on the chat room, so I'll be able to relay those questions. But there's a lot of talk of Michael Arnstein right now in the chat room, who won the race in an amazing time. Excuse me, I forgot, guys. I'm drinking beer tonight. I'm drinking Noble Ale Works Big Wig IPA. It's very good.
Oh yeah,
it's delicious. I just popped it open, so I'm enjoying this during the show. It's my first beer in a long time, so I figured I'd make it a big wig one. But whatever. So you guys are talking about Michael Arnstein, and if this is his comeback, because he did take a long break from trail running and ultra running, and now that he lives in Hawaii, he's been training on these trails. And after the race, there's a YouTube video that his wife filmed just after he crossed the finish line in first place, talking about how he will never run it again. Every time he left for the loop, he'd basically leave the aid station and just start walking, because he felt like he was walking through a zombie zone. He felt like everyone was just walking zombies through the woods.
Yeah.
And multiple times he almost fell on cliffs, where he would be running along a cliffside and slip or something and have to grab onto a tree or a root or something to keep him from dying, which is crazy that is part of this, that you have to do at night and all that stuff. So, Andy, I want to start at the beginning with training and stuff like that with you. When did you find out you got into HURT? I mean, it's a lottery race, I believe, so you applied a long time ago to get into this race. You were chosen.
Yeah.
How did you alter your training? Because you're already doing long distances. You've run 100 miles before. How did you decide, like, this is how I want to train for this race?
There we go. So, well, to start, I found out, I forget when the application opens, but sometime over the summer, I believe, and then I found out the day after AC. So cut to me finishing Angeles Crest at 4:24 in the morning. I am totally I'm like, stick around. I'm driving home. As I'm driving home, I get this email that pops up that was like, bling, congrats, you've been selected to run the Hurt 100.
Oh my
and I
God.
was just like, fuck me. like that's the last. That was the last thing I ever wanted to see an email of after finishing AC. Is literally hours later of seeing that I had just gotten into Hurt. And then the way that AC works now, the way they have it, you had to sign up that next day. So I had this awful 30 hours of finishing AC, finding out I got into Hurt, and then having to then immediately apply to get into AC next year.
Yep.
So that was kind of a kick in the butt. So I basically, started. I took a little time off to recover from that, and then just started ramping up mileage. The thing I really tried to incorporate a lot more was obviously just technical stuff. There's LA, the mountains. There's a lot of great trails. They're not the most technical in the world, but you can find some sketchy back trails and stuff like that. So I would do repeats up and down. Basically, this thing called Rabbit Hole and Luna Loop in LA, in the Santa Monica Mountains. That I would just do repeats of that up and down, because it was about approximating the climb that you haven't heard. And then it also kind of the monotony of having to do the same thing over and over again, the loops. I would go out and try to run repetitive routes a lot more, just to kind of see what that felt like, having to go out and turn around, get to the bottom of something, immediately have to turn around and run back up and run down and run up. So it was kind of both a physical and mental preparation for the race. And then also did a lot of training, other sorts of training, just doing a lot of worked with a personal trainer, Casteria here in LA. She's awesome. And just had to correct some running form stuff. I had some soleus issues. So I've kind of tried. Stuff really paid off. I was thinking during the race, I was like, man, I can't imagine having run this without doing all that extra body work on top of it. That just having the stable core throughout the race. That was never an issue. I never had any problems with that. So, I don't have a six-pack, but I was pretty happy about not fighting the race.
How did you train for the humidity? Because that was one thing that I read was taking people out left and right. We're in California. We do deal with heat during the summer, but during the off months, it's actually pretty cool. How'd you deal with that?
I probably should have done more, to be honest. I don't think it affected me too badly. Elan will probably tell me otherwise. He was there and saw me in the depths of the race. So I don't think it was that bad. But the training I did was 3 weeks out, which I probably should have started earlier. But I was basically running not in trash bags, but I had this great little Mountain Hardwear jacket that's kind of tied a windbreaker, and I would put on a buff, and I would just run in that, and I just kind of looked like a crazy person out running trails and stuff. But that was the best thing I could think of. I was like, I'll just wear this little windbreaker and keep all the moisture in and keep all the heat in, and so that's kind of what I was doing ahead of time.
Now, Elan, what about you? Because I know that he probably had to ask you well in advance to be pacer and crew. What did you do to kind of alter your training for this? Because you're not running the whole race, but you're going to have to run a large portion of it.
Yeah, I don't think I did enough, for sure.
There you go. Okay.
I'm training for Sean O'Brien, the 100K, and so Andy and I have been doing some long runs together, and it came up that he didn't have a pacer, and he's paced me at my first 100K, and we run all the time together, so I just wanted to come out. And I don't think I realized I didn't really know that much about her and how insane it was until I started getting 2 weeks out just a bunch of emails and be like, hey, check out this race report and all these pictures, check out these videos. It's so awesome. And I was like, holy shit, this is insane. This is going to be until we were out there.
Yeah, I don't think you realized what you were getting into, and so that's why I was carefully planning to see hey, maybe check out this little video about what the race is like, or read this race report that Tiffany wrote or something.
Pretty much just said, hey, let's go to Hawaii, and I happen to be doing this if you want to come. And so, no, I don't know how I would train. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm not as strong a climber as he is, and I definitely take advantage of being a good downhiller, but I felt like in this race, like one thing I really noticed with him was that the downhill destroyed him more and hurt his time.
Yeah.
Hurt his time. It really took him a lot longer than the ups because the downhill is so technical. And like, I mean, there were a lot of rocks that got so slick throughout the night, and they told us this is a dry course. Like, I don't know. There was one time Andy was like, I think either our shoes suck or this course is just impossible to go down on. And it was true. We both. I slipped it 3 or 4 times. Like, he lost a toenail, it felt like. I mean, it was just a gnarly course.
I actually heard multiple stories of swamp foot where it's not necessarily a wet course. Yeah, I heard as well that it was a dry course this year, despite it being soaking wet and super humid. But people were talking about how much sweat would drip into their shoes and soak into their socks and give them swamp foot, which resulted in endless blisters and all sorts of major issues. Michael Arnstein talked about how he just covered his feet in Vaseline all day. He's like, that was my only saving grace, was just covering everything in Vaseline. There were some good questions in the chat.
I didn't really have any. I was gonna say I didn't really have any issues with like any swamp foot or anything, but there was one point on my 4th loop. I was coming down, and I still have no idea what happened, but it was in the middle of the night, and my foot, I suddenly was just off the trail, and there was and during half the course there's like a drop off, like you're on the side of a, either switchbacks, usually switchbacks, and there's just like a drop off, like a very long drop off, and my foot, I was just suddenly off the trail, and I was lucky enough to catch it with my left leg, and so I was kind of holding myself onto the trail without falling off with my left leg, but my right leg just totally slipped off, and kind of in the process, I turned my leg in to try to catch myself, and it just felt like one of my toenails just went like, it just whipped all the way back, and I expected to look down and just see like a toenail like pointing up like that, and we stopped for a second. I was like, I don't know, man. I think I just ripped it off, and it kind of got a little better. I tried to like kind of push it down, and I was like, if I can make it back down to the aid station, maybe we'll see what's up. And then we got down, and it ended up, I haven't lost it yet, but I think it just got bent back like super far, and it's kind of like still in there waiting to fall off. But that was actually the worst injury that I had. So in the grand scheme of things, not so bad. I was expecting like broken ankles or something, but it was not a pleasant experience. I only ate shit.
I'll take care of the broken ankles for you. I got that handled.
I think, I do want to hear how your ankle's doing, but I think that's actually where Andy started to get kind of low, too, in the race, because that was on our first loop together, so he was about 65, 67 miles in, and I think he kind of just started feeling his feet and his legs, and it was rough. I mean, I tried to kind of tell some bad jokes, and I tried to do some singing, and I think it's the most mean I've ever seen Andy be like, shut the fuck up. I'm not singing right now.
Hey, to my credit, his singing, he was like, hey, I'll sing some Smash Mouth for you. Like, the worst pacer ever. Why would you start singing Smash Mouth in the middle of a race? And he started singing it, and I was like, I was like, seriously, shut the fuck. I was like, I'm not playing. Shut up right now. And I don't get mean like during races. And but like Smash Mouth is just not gonna happen on my watch in a race.
That's terrible, Elan, that you would even think about that. That's as bad as saying Nickelback. I'm gonna start singing Nickelback songs. Or Creed or something.
Elan, did you like plan that ahead of time? You're like, I'm definitely gonna sing him Smash Mouth during the race. Was that like
that's my go-to race singing.
Somebody once told me that. No, that can't happen. Oh, that would be terrible. No. I want to kind of hear your whole story from kind of beginning to end. Kind of give us a synopsis of your day, based off of some stuff that I was reading from this race for people who competed. It sounded like a pretty terrible day for a lot of people, and for those who were watching who maybe aren't really familiar with Hurt 100, it is notorious for having a very low finishing rate in comparison to other ultras of any distance. And this year, 60 people completed the race, 64 DNF'd the race, which is a 52% drop rate. That is pretty damn high, figuring that most races average anywhere from 5 to 25%, 25 being the high end. A 52% drop rate is insane. So to anybody that even started this race or attempted to finish this race or finished this race, they deserve some major accolades. It doesn't matter how long it took people to finish this race. It's one of those, if you did it, that's really all that matters. And multiple people who have run the race multiple times and then come back and had a terrible day and been unable to finish it. It is that hard of a race and unpredictable on any given year, based off of what I've heard from people's experiences. So for you two to travel to the island, and the first thing that you see is, or when you get out onto the trails for the first time, even if you're spectating Elan or at an aid station, what is going through your head? Especially after that first loop, Andy. So kind of take us through the first experience with the Hurt 100 course. And already, sorry, Andy, I think I lost your audio. We're going to give it 1 second because I know it's going to pick back up. Let me know when you can hear me, Andy, and I'll let you know when I can hear you. Elan, what did you think of the course as a spectator, first and foremost?
Yeah, well, especially for the first loop, what was ironic was that, so he had told us about 4 hours he thought he'd be in for the first loop, and so we got there, I think the race started at 6, so about 9:45, and he came in like 30 seconds later, and we were just like, holy crap, he's here, like we gotta go. And so that was a trip too, because he was really dependent on, he really did a great job of dialing his nutrition in and kind of, and this is what works for me and I'm gonna go with it. And we were 30 seconds away from not having that bag, which would have sucked.
That would have been bad, yeah. What did it have in it for him?
Yeah, it's like your one responsibility as a crew is to be there. And so we cut it close the first loop, and he didn't know until like much later in the day, but it was actually surprising. The first loop, people were really moving. I think that's, from my vantage point, that really did a lot of people in. I think there was at least 15, 20 guys that were around 4 hours. And if you look at Gary Robbins' time, sub 20 is about 4 hours a loop. And Andy looked good, and I think it was just part of his day that he was slowing down a bit. But some of the people that really dropped off, I think people go out really hard because you want to get those miles in and get it done, but it's also, it becomes much more technical later in the race.
Yeah, I'm going to Andy, do we have you yet? I don't think we can hear him yet.
I'm back.
Oh, there we go. We got audio. Sorry, dude. Sorry.
DNF'd.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But we do have you. So Elan was talking about how they almost missed you on the first lap or the first loop coming through, but they did get the bag to you and stuff like that. So that first loop to you, what was that experience like? Because you had trained, you hadn't seen it in person. This is your first chance running on it. Was it overwhelming? Was it underwhelming? Was it tolerable? Because you were in second place for a large portion of the first lap.
Yeah. I got in with Yassine, and I just kind of tucked in with him, and I figured he knew the course, and we kind of cruised it pretty fast, and I ran with him for a while and was feeling pretty good. Things just started getting really tight, like I said. Basically, the way the course worked.
It's the Hawaiian Wi-Fi. That's exactly what it is. Sorry, Andy. We know we're going to get you back. We just don't know when. It's the Wi-Fi in the house that he's staying at. It sucks, but as soon as he comes back, we'll get him to finish his thought. In the chat room, though, there's a good question from Robert. Oh wait, Andy, you're back.
Hi.
Sorry, dude.
Hawaiian internet. What can I say?
You were saying that it's actually most likely satellite integrated as opposed to the hardwire of the U.S. So I think we can make an exception. So yeah, sorry.
It's like coconuts and they get the signal.
What were you saying about the course?
Yeah, about the course. Sorry. And I hope we didn't lose him again. No, there he is. Go ahead. Yep. No, we got you. Good.
That you basically run up and down. You run up and down from the nature center up, and then you run that down to your first aid station. You run it up again, and then you run it down to the second aid station, Puana Puwanu or something, and then back down to the first nature center aid station.
Okay.
So, so you kind of the interesting thing about the course is that you get to feel it out. So the first lap is really good. First loop, you're just kind of starting to understand how the course works, and then the second time around, you're like, all right, I got this. I know I know where the turns are coming. I know which parts are hard. I know not to expect when I get to the top of this hill, and I think I'm done with this climb. I know that I'm not actually done with this climb now. So you kind of work it out. And the second, so I found for me the second loop, my first one was fastest, but the second one I felt really relaxed and just settled in and had a really great loop. And third one I went in, had another really solid loop, and then it's like as soon as night hit on that fourth loop, and I had a really good headlamp. I got one of those new Petzl nows that shoots up to 575 lumens, which is just crazy. And so I had a really good headlamp, and even with that, you just can't see. There's just so many. You're looking down, and even though you've memorized, you've done the same trail 3 times already. When you're coming down for the fourth time, and you're in the dark, you don't know necessarily what's underfoot. You're like hopping from rock to rock. There's just, and then on top of that, like Elan was saying before, everything just the mist comes and everything just gets crazy slippery, and so on top of that, and I'm sure this is what it's like in Vancouver too, but it's like on top of that you've lost all like the ability to move laterally and pick your way along the trail. And so it was funny, there's these rocks that the first time you're just bounding over them, you're feeling great about it, and second time you like kind of hop over it, and then the third time you kind of like pull yourself up, but you still feel pretty good about it. And the fourth time, you're just like crawling over. It's funny to see how you like devolved over the course of the race from like loop to loop. It was just, you just got like shittier and shittier. There were all these rocks that I kept calling shitty rock. Elan heard me say like, I'd be like, here comes shitty rock, and it was like this rock that was like at an angle, and we'd have to like get like kind of climb over it and slide our way down, or like pull yourself up. There's probably how many six rocks that I called shitty rock, right, through the course of the night. And so it was great on your last loop, where I'd just be like, goodbye forever, shitty rock. I am never seeing you again.
Yeah.
So that was the benefit.
That sounds terrible.
It was.
Yeah, it was awful.
It's absolutely.
So we have a couple questions from the chat room. I just make sure that I don't pass over them too soon, because it's kind of moving fast. The chat room just keeps scrolling. This is from Pete Krusok. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right. This was a little bit earlier. Andy and Elan, was it easier to run during the daytime when it was light, or at night when it was dark but maybe a bit cooler? And how did the time zone difference come into play here? Like, how did you adapt to the 3-hour earlier time zone? Did it benefit you? Good question. Andy, we'll start with you.
Good question. Good question. I was saying to Yassine on our first loop, I was like, man, it's so nice to have a race west of the West Coast. Like, when does that ever happen? So, the race was a 6 a.m. start, but coming from LA, that's like an 8 a.m. and I flew in just the day before, so it was really nice. I got great sleep ahead of time and felt really rested. So that was like the only time this can ever happen, is going west for a race from the West Coast. So that's a huge benefit. And then like the night thing, like I said, I think I personally slowed down a lot more than some people did during the night. I'm not sure why that is. I think it was, my legs just became so tight and everything became slick at night that I was fine in the daylight. And then even as when that second sunrise comes and you get that little burst of energy coming back, but as soon as you could see the trail again, we were putting some pretty fast times together by the time that the sun came back up. It's just like the night, you can't see anything. It's terrible.
Yeah, and
you're just like picking your way along.
And you have your headlamp coming from your eye level, so that's casting shadows in the same plane as your eyes. So I'm sure it just removes that sense of depth. Elan, how was it for you? When did because you were kind of were you jumping between aid stations, or were you stationed at the nature center? And when you picked up Andy to pace, were you pacing at night as well? How was that for you?
Yeah, so we stayed at the nature center, we stayed at the nature center, and it was it was interesting to watch him, like he said, kind of just what the race took a toll on him, and seeing that in the same place. But even then, I mean, he was hitting his splits all through the first three loops, and I've run with him at night and seen him at races at night, and he really picks people off. Like I really thought that he would at worst kind of hit his planned splits and we would pick up time, but the course is a totally different game at night. But I haven't ever paced somebody through till morning, and that was amazing because it just totally brings you back. And you hear it tons from runners, but I'd never seen it, and it just totally gave him some new life. I mean, I think it was about the last 10 miles that we did in the light, and I mean, he was hitting his splits from his first loop pretty much for the last section. And like we were playing a little bit of games of like, okay, if you get to this point by this time, you're definitely going to hit a under 28 hours. He's like, I'm not going to make that. And we made it with 2 minutes to spare. And like doing things like that, that all of a sudden the light really gave him a good energy. And it was cool to see.
Yeah, we made this. We're like, if we can get to this gate by this certain time, we'll be able. We'll just have to like kick ass and just like sprint into the finish. And I was like, we're not going to make it. And we got there right in time, and I was just like, shit, now I have to run really hard to the finish. I was so angry that I was so angry that we hit that time because I was like, God, now I have to just sprint for the next hour and a half to make it in on 28 hours. I was so pissed, but it was good. It was a good finish. I felt really good coming in. But that night, man, it just brutal.
And was that the longest you've ever run?
I did Magian Monster 2 years ago, and it was 28 and a half. But that's also a 106-mile race, so it's a little bit longer.
Right. Add a little bit more. There's a great question. I didn't mean to cut you off as well, Andy. There's a great question in here from Guillaume. Yep. Guillaume Camet is in the chat room watching. Obviously a friend of the boys here. And myself. Guillaume asks, Andy and Elan, because Hurt is a loop-based race with out and backs, does that change anything in the strategy to adopt to race it? You always know where your competition is and how the runners look. And this is a great question because from what I've heard, you're running by runners the entire race, whether they're right behind you in placement or they're 30 people behind you. You're still passing people of all levels at different various points of the race. So how is that when you did you take that into account for race strategy going into it, or did you have no strategy, Andy?
It's a great point because you do get to see how everyone is looking coming in, and so we were watching like it was funny to see how different people were improving or not. It makes you feel either better or worse about yourself. Like Michael Arnstein was behind me for the first loop. He was behind me, and I was I know he had a pretty rough year last year, and I believe and he and so I was just like, and he kind of went past me, and I was like, there he goes, not that big of a deal. And then I just saw him getting farther and farther out. And so the cool thing is you don't usually get to see the race unfold as a racer. As a racer, you're only, especially if it's a point to point or something like that, you really only see your experience. And so this time it was like I was like, wow, okay, Mike just hopped Nicodemus, who had a great race and was out front all day, or I would see Jamil go past, or Yassine and I we'd talked a bunch in the morning, so it was always a nice boost to see him, and we'd kind of like chat about something as we were like passing each other. So it was definitely just a totally, again, different style race, a different vibe. Strategy-wise, I think that you have to. It actually is far simpler because there's no logistics. I don't have to, you don't have to figure out, okay, I'm maybe gonna be here at this point, so I'm maybe gonna want. I had a drop bag with 2 batteries. That was my drop bag. I didn't need anything else because every 20 miles you're just gonna come back and you can take anything there. So logistically, it's as easy as it is running wise hard. Like those are like the opposite ends of the spectrum. It's an imagine to run, and logistically the easiest one to perform.
That's pretty interesting to think that way, yeah, because the aid stations are evenly spaced out for the most part,
Yeah.
and you can kind of plan ahead for those. Elon, as far as crewing, were you able to run back and forth between the aid stations or drive? Obviously,
We
was it pretty easy?
we stayed at one aid station. I did see some people going back and forth between a few.
Okay,
But,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, he was moving so strong and
I don't.
feeling good that we didn't feel like we needed to.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Andy.
I mean, I was just in the stations, the non-nature center aid stations, and I'd pop in for, like, I would grab a piece of orange and I would take off. I was never there longer than probably a minute at most aid stations, so I don't think there's any reason for crew to drive around. You can, but there's no need really.
Fairly, yeah, lack of importance on that one.
We didn't want to see
Um,
him that
Yeah.
much.
yeah, we have multiple questions on nutrition. I'm actually really curious about this. I haven't talked to you guys
Yeah.
about what you do for nutrition in most races. So what did you do for this race? Was it different than anything you've done in previous races? Did the humidity play a part in the hydration aspect of things? Andy?
Yeah, I have a Ultimate Direction pack. I had the SJ pack, so the two 20-ounce bottles, and every single time I came into an aid station, they were both drained. So I was drinking 40 ounces between aid stations. So
Of
Drink a
course.
lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Sorry, Andy. We just lost you right when you were about to say what
oh,
you used in the bottles.
so I had one bottle of water and another bottle of whatever. They had Gubru, but the thing I actually learned in this race, I started putting coconut water in one
Oh,
bottle, and that was awesome. I had never really done that before, and I just was like, nah, on a whim, decided to try it. And every time at the nature center, we'd put coconut water, and it was awesome. It really helped out, and you get good electrolytes and some calories that way. So I think I'm going to start incorporating that into all my racing. I just have to be constantly drinking. It's just coming out.
Yeah.
the sweat. Yeah, I think Andy. Sorry, we just lost you again. He's talking about the sweat just constantly coming out, and you're having to constantly replenish it, whether it's with water or with coconut water. Elon, before we get Andy back, do you know what he was using as a primary source of calories?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty impressed overall with his nutrition. I think for me, it was like a lesson in that he was machine-like. Every 15 minutes he drank, every 30 minutes he ate, and then every hour, pretty much, he took an S-cap. And it really kept him, from a nutrition-wise, really steady. Farting-wise, it was really rough, but he had a lot of variety. So he had most of essentially the same stuff. It was all goos or Cliff Blocks or Stingers, all that kind of stuff. But he had a huge variety of flavors and different kinds, so he was able to kind of vary that. And I took that away as a really good idea because they're all the same thing. It's sugar and calories and carbohydrates. Right. And he took, like he said, some fruit at the aid stations, but for the most part, he was staying steady on goos, and he was just machine-like with it. It came out the back end not so great, but he definitely was good with his food. It was impressive because I'm not that good. I've faced people before that I mean, you've probably experienced it. It just becomes so hard to continue to take in calories, even as tired as you are. Like your body just doesn't really want to take that kind of food in anymore, but you need it to keep going. And he definitely was able to keep taking things down, which I think he's experienced the other side of how shitty it feels to become depleted from not just dehydration but nutrition, because once you fall behind, it's really hard to get back there.
Yeah.
And so I would pretty much call out every 15 minutes, and he would take water, food, or S-caps.
That's excellent. I mean, I can only imagine then that in this particular race, with the humidity, with the constant sweating and the mist and like the temperature changing and stuff, your appetite and your fluid intake it's going to be altered one way or the other. You're not going to want to take in hard food or solid food, and yeah, so that's good that he was able to play the game. Andy, whenever I'll let you know when I can hear you. Just keep on talking. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to hear Andy yet. It's the Hawaii-Fi. People in the chat when we're talking about how Hawaii-Fi sucks. it's terrible. So I'm gonna kind of go through
Yeah,
here
it
and
is rough.
ask.
Right.
Is that Andy? No, I don't think so. I do not believe that I'm hearing him. Damn it, Andy! If you want to drop out and come back in like you did before, go for it. Just so we can try to restart that Wi-Fi. Oh, he already did.
Oh.
It says Andy Pearson has joined this video. Andy, let us know when you can just start talking. I'll let you know when we can hear you. So we had another question in here. Running on Bliss asked for a gear check, and I was really curious about this too. So we already talked about the Scott Jurek 2.0 Ultimate Direction Pack. We got Andy back. Hey, buddy. Thank you. So sorry. I don't know what's going on with all of the Wi-Fi as we were talking about. So what other gear did you use? Sock-wise, shoe-wise, shorts, and all that?
I have North Face, the Flight Series shorts, which I absolutely love.
Oh, beautiful Hawaii-Fi. We got to the shorts. We got the North Face shorts, Andy.
He was rocking his New Balance 1010s.
Oh, was he? 1010 V2s or the 1010 V1s?
The 1010 V2s. He saved a pair just for this race, which
That's
was
excellent.
Yeah. I don't know what you could wear though and really feel good on your feet. A lot of people were out there wearing Hokas, and that was kind of I seemed like the go-to shoe. I mean, I think cushion you from the amount of roots and rocks, but then again, on the other side of it, he was able to feel the ground a lot better, I think, than a lot of people and kind of pick up his feet. But as he got tired, I think if I was ever crazy enough to do it, which I don't think I have it in me, I would go with something really smooth and give you that proprioception like the V2s for the first half, and then kind of switch to something a lot more supportive for the second, where your feet are just destroyed. But
yeah,
tough.
I saw Michael Arnstein, the guy who won, was wearing Hokas, like the big thick ones. And I couldn't believe that because just how technical the course is. I'm like, you have to watch everywhere you step because one little roll and you're totally fucked for the whole race. But he swore by him. I can imagine that doing some sort of simpler, thinner midsole like the 1010 V2 would be great. He ran in those the whole day. Did he switch shoes at all?
No, I think he ran those the whole day. I think the Hokas were the most popular shoe I saw out there. I mean, I saw a lot of Ultras. I think that's kind of that same profile as the 1010s, and then but what I actually was most amazed about while we're waiting for him is the amount of people that finished on the back end of this race. I think in a lot of hundreds you see people kind of finish throughout the day, and it's a 36-hour time limit, which basically means you have a full day, a full night, and a full day, because 36 hours is 6 p.m. and it's getting dark again in Hawaii. And when we were finishing early in the morning, the cutoff-ish is like 10 a.m. for doing your last loop, which gives you 8 hours. And we saw people like really hustling to get in and get back out there for another full day and full loop. And there were a lot of people that finished between 33, 35 hours. And it was just, both of us were like, I can't imagine being out there for another full day. It was pretty incredible. I was blown away by that.
Andy, we got you back. Do you want to talk about your shoe choice? Elan was saying that it was a 1010 V2s. How'd they work for you?
Pretty well, but I don't think anything works well on that course, to be honest. I'm not sure that unless you have like a pair of golf spikes on or something, you're going to be able to get much traction on that thing, man. I actually saved the V2s because they don't make them anymore, so I had this pristine pair of them that I saved just for the race, and now they're like torn to shit. And just all muddy and stuff. But I liked them. It felt good all day. I never had an issue. It's again that those slick rocks. There's nothing you can. I don't know any shoe that would ever work on rocks like that.
Because they're probably covered in some sort of micro-lichen, super slick, almost sludge-like material, right?
Yeah, and there's like some of them have moss, and then also when you think people have gone over that same piece of trail. Yeah. You go over that same piece of trail 10 times because you're going down, and then you're going up, and then on your next loop you're going down and up, and then you do that 5 times. So you also see the trail kind of like degrade over the course, and it just gets slipperier and slipperier.
So that's incredible. We're gonna kind of wrap it up because we're getting towards the end of the show, but we have a couple things I want to do before we go into the post show. What do you think was the lowest point of your day, Andy? At what point, and what was it like being at that point in the race? Because this is one of the toughest 100s. Kind of describe that.
Yeah. The lowest point was probably somewhere, I mean, just in the middle of the night when I was just physically unable to move how I wanted to. I think I've never gotten to that point before. The only thing I can compare to is like my first 100, and I think everyone remembers at the end of your first 100 when you're just totally beat up and you're unable to move. I was mentally feeling good. I actually really like the loop format because it's easy to break up in your mind, and so mentally I felt like I was really there all day. But when you like being able to hop down little rocks, when it was like a little ledge that would be, you know, a foot and a half, where before I was just, you know, obviously you fly over without thinking about it. And later on in the night, I was having to just kind of like gingerly step down because my body, my legs were just so unable to move the way that they needed to. So I think that was kind of like the lowest points, was just that, you know, that fourth loop is, and they call it the loop of death, is because you get back and because you're 60 miles in and you're like, I got to go out and do that again, and then I have to do it again. So once you finish your fourth loop, you're just like, I have 20 miles in, I can't quit now. But to go back out for that fourth loop, that's the one that kills people. And I felt great, actually. I come in on 4 and I'm like, I'm not that bad. Let's go do this. And then it's just like, by the time my body started breaking down, that was when I was just kind of getting angry about it. I was apologizing to Elan. I was like, hey, sorry I brought you out for this hike in the middle of the jungle. You didn't know we were going to be hiking all day.
But you got through it.
I was happy. Yeah,
I was going to say, Elan, how was it for you? Because, I mean, you said that it was really tough to do those 40 miles. You couldn't imagine doing 100, but you're also having to be the major support system for Andy. How was it for you at his low points and at your low points?
It's tough because I think I was talking to a little bit too of like, you know, I haven't raced as much as Andy, but I've had some low points too. And so when you're pacing, you kind of have a general idea of, you know, everybody's demons are different, but of like what they're going through. And it sucks to watch because you just know, like, really regardless of what I say, it's going to be tough, and he's got to get out of it on his own. And it takes, you know, that's what makes a lot of good 100-mile runners is people that can kind of accept that I feel really shitty right now. But I mean, he said it one time. He's like, I planned on coming out here. Like, I wanted to be here. And so really all I was there was just to kind of keep him moving, keep him relatively safe. I mean, he did mess up some toes, and then just kind of give him as much encouragement as I can and tell bad jokes. Like, that's kind of all I could do. I was kind of thinking maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe that's why he's suffering a little bit more, but I think
maybe I could sing him more Smash Mouth.
Yeah, more Smash Mouth.
That'd be great.
I think definitely feeling better.
I think your low point was the 2 laps that I spent farting in your face for the entire last 2 laps.
Yeah,
I was just ripping ass like in his face as we're going up all the hills. So I think you had like 40 miles of a low point probably for that reason.
I tried to combat too and like give it back to him, but I just ran out after a while. And as he slowed down, it got really bad because there was like this time delay. First, we were still moving, I could get through it, but after he slowed, I'm like just sitting back there. Yeah,
You're just basking. You're just basking in his methane exhaust.
Yeah,
full anal air.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds miserable. Bottom line, Andy Pearson finished in 11th place in 27 hours, 48 minutes, and 53 seconds. Incredible effort by him, and really great job crewing and pacing, Elan. He obviously couldn't have done it without you and the Smash Mouth. Really, that was the whole reason he was able to get to the finish line. But An incredible performance. The question has to be asked, and people in the chat room want to know: would you run it again, Andy? Would you go back to Hawaii?
I would come back to Hawaii. I don't know about running it again. It's that thing, man, when you finish, and I was just like, I will never run this race again. And the same thing you saw in Arnstein's video from yesterday. I mean, he said he was like, I will never run this race again. And he lives in Hawaii now. And you know he's going to be back there next year. Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking about that today. I'd never want to run this race, but I will maybe end up at some point. Unfortunately, the pain goes away too quickly with running, it lingers for about 2 days, and then you slowly forget all the bad parts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know.
totally insane.
I get the best, and I got to tell you, the best place to recover from a 100-miler is in Hawaii. There's literally no better place to wake up the next day and be. And we're spending the weekend on the Big Island now, so it's definitely a huge benefit of that race. If this race were like in Iowa, no offense to anyone who lives in Iowa, like I would never do this race again. I don't think, but there's a nice built-in part about coming out and seeing the islands, and it's a totally different experience. So that's a non-committal answer.
But I think it actually answered the question. You said no, but maybe. So in my mind, that's you'll be back. I guarantee you'll be back because
I hope not.
Gary Robbins has said it every year he's finished in first place, even if it's a course record. He's like, I'm never coming back, and then he shows up the next year. He wanted to run this year, chose not to, but still went anyways because it is that kind of community. And I've only heard amazing things about race organization and the whole community there. And you get to recover on the island, and seeing the pictures from Yassine and Josh and Kira today at the beach, soaking in water. With beautiful views it's pretty unparalleled. Elan, what about you? Would you go back and run the full course?
I can give a committal answer, and it's definitely no. There's no chance. It's funny to hear him talk about it now because he definitely felt differently like 12 hours ago when I was with him, but I give it to him. I mean, that's why he was able to do it. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not the kind of running that I really love. I mean, the aid stations and the people there were awesome. And Hawaii is beautiful. I would love to go and, go for, a hike on one of those trails with my girlfriend. But I have no interest in running this. It's just not a run. I want to run. I don't know. It's really hard. I'm happy to admit that I'm not as tough as Andy in that regard.
Would you crew or pace again?
It's definitely...
I'd crew, maybe do 20 miles.
What were you gonna say, Andy?
Wow, I'm sorry I invited you out here, dude.
Yeah, you farted in my face for 40 hours or 40 miles. I can tell you this now. I'm in a different state in 10-degree weather. It was miserable.
Yeah, he had such a good time. He left Hawaii to go straight to Aspen. That's basically how it went. I thank you both very much for joining me on tonight's show. I can't wait to talk to you guys in the post show. For those of you who are watching live, ask those questions. We'll ask them as quickly as we can in the post show and let these guys go and enjoy the snow and the beach. But before we do, Andy, I'm going to do a little rapid fire question thing that I like to do with my guests on the show called Quickie Question Quiz. I'm going to ask you a question, just answer it as quickly as possible. Elan, we'll go to you as well. So we'll do one question, Andy answers, Elan answers, and that's pretty much it. Andy, you let me know when you're ready.
I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Should I prepare more? Okay, I'm ready.
You look great. What was your first race?
Grand Mesa 100, Grand Mesa 100.
That was your first race?
Ever race? No, the Hall and Aspen marathon in Bend, Oregon.
Was your first ultra a 100-miler?
No, I did the Mount Hood 50.
Got it. Elan, first race.
Right. A road half marathon. And then first ultra was a road 50K. That was actually 3 loops, and I said then, I was like, this is miserable. I don't want to do 3 loops.
That's awesome. Andy, what was your favorite, what is your favorite running movie? Favorite running movie?
Oh, Jesus. I'm blanking.
Any of the Ginger Runner films for me.
That's a correct answer, Elan. That is the correct answer. Elan wins.
Oh.
Trails or road, Andy? Trails or road?
Always trails, never road. Why would you even run on road?
That's not why.
I feel bad when I drive my car and I see people on the road. I'm like, stop. Just don't.
What about you, Elan?
Definitely trails. Always trails. Trails in the Bay Area. That's my favorite.
There you go. Andy, what is your favorite post-race indulgence?
Beer, obviously. It's also I don't have to race to indulge in that either. I just do that all the time. So
Just all the time, yeah.
just a general indulgence.
What about you, Elon?
Ice cream, coffee ice cream, which was the best.
Tom's coffee ice cream?
Maybe one day. That's the long-term dream goal for me.
There you go.
I don't think I'll be able
That's
to
it.
run ultras when I get into the ice cream business.
Yeah, that's true. You wouldn't. You might have to drive a car around with little dingling bells and little children's songs or something. That's a whole nother show. That's a totally different topic. I have to again thank my guests Andy Pearson and Elan Lieber for joining me tonight to talk all about Hurt 100. They're going to stick around for the post show. I appreciate you guys tuning in live. I apologize for Hawaii's Wi-Fi. It sounds like it's just notoriously pretty difficult to get to work solidly, especially for a live video stream. Go ahead, Andy.
It's hard for the Wi-Fi to get through all the sunlight that's happening and all the palm trees. There's like something weird that it blocks it, so I'm really sorry about that.
Andy, where can people find you on social media? Where can they go follow you?
I'm on the Facebooks, obviously, Andy Pearson. You can look me up, or on Instagram at I even shot this. On Tumblr, I even ran this far.tumblr.com, and Twitter at I even wrote this. So really, I even, and then whatever, and then this.
And what about you, Elan?
Just first and last name, Facebook and Instagram.
Easy.
I'm not super creative like you guys.
You are pretty creative, Elan. Don't sell yourself.
You look great. You look great.
You just need a mustache or a beard. That's the only thing you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Give me a couple days.
Just a couple days. You guys are awesome. Again, congratulations, Andy. Such an amazing accomplishment. Thank you for telling us the story of your race. Stick around for the post show, everybody. If you've got the questions for these guys, ask them now. We're going to kind of rapid fire through them right here, right after the post show thing. So thanks again. Don't forget to follow me on all the social networks as well. On Twitter, it's at The Ginger Runner. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/TheGingerRunner, GingerRunner.com. YouTube, you're there, so subscribe to the channel because a lot of new films coming up, a lot of new reviews coming up as well. Very, very excited for the season and this year. Some big races, including my first 100. I might have to pick the brains of these guys to figure out exactly how the fuck I'm going to do it. In the meantime, stick around for the post show. We're about to get to that. See you guys in the post show. Bye. Yay! Awesome. I'm sorry, guys. The Wi-Fi. That is. We're just gonna blame it on Hawaii. I have yet to go to Hawaii. I am so excited to go there. It looks incredible. Looks beautiful. But apparently their Wi-Fi is no great. So we had some good questions on gear. We only got a little bit of the gear question from you, Andy. I'm sorry. So you were rocking the 1010 V2s that you had a new pair of. You had the North Face shorts. Did you have anything up top specifically, or sock wise, or nutrition?
Just a lot of chest hair. A lot of chest hair up top. I had a New Balance. They have a new race shirts that I really like, and then Injinji socks, which were really funny because when I thought I lost that toenail, they like get in the aid station. I was like, can someone please look at my foot? I think I like lost a toe. I think I ripped off a toenail, and the people that were doing MASH were like, oh, sure. And then I took off the shoes, and they're like, oh, you have Injinjis on. We can't tape your toes together because they're individual toes. And so I was like, damn you! I was like the one bad, but you know the socks were great all day. And then we ended up just taping up like over the socks, and it was fine.
I actually had the exact same problem at Squamish. When I did the same thing to my toe, and I got to an aid station, took off my shoe, the guy's like, "You either got to take off your Injinjis and cut the toes off of them, or you're stuck." And so yeah, it was the same exact thing. I got stuck. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, yeah, and I was like maybe I can. I was thinking through it. I was like I could cut them off, but that seems like another bad move. I was like, I feel like that will cause worse things. So I just asked him. I said, hey, can you just tape around it and just tape the sock together? And it worked fine. So.
Yeah, what did you rock, Elan? What did you do as far as shoes and socks and all that stuff? I didn't get to hear what your shoes were.
Yeah, I did Injinjis for socks. I love Injinjis. And then just I actually have some Patagonia shorts that I love. Their Striders are awesome, and a defunct Go Light company shirt. I love Go Light, but they now no longer make stuff. So I'm trying to hold on.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, and for shoes, I was actually wearing some of the Nikes. I've been training the Nike Wild Horse a lot, and I don't love them for like a racing shoe, but for a training shoe, they're kind of just a good all-around training shoe. They've taken a lot of miles, and yeah, I was happy with them. I mean, as far as you can be on this course, they're kind of the middle of the road. To me, felt like a middle of a lot of different shoes.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've reviewed them as well. Like they're solid. The Wild Horse especially are good solid trainers and will definitely take you the distance. Question in the chat room from Michael Tupper. Any advice for runners running their first 50K or 100 miler? Those are two very completely different distances in my opinion. But any advice for maybe first time ultra runners?
Go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, I think pick something, especially for your first one, that's and not that her was out of Andy's wheelhouse, but something that you're really like you're comfortable with, because for first of anything, you want it to be something you can enjoy and succeed at. And so no matter what, you're kind of gonna probably go out a little harder. You're probably gonna hurt a little bit more. It's further you've ever gone, and the goal is to be able to do this for a long time. So there's nothing wrong with picking out something that's like in your backyard. You're going to be able to do a ton of destination races as long as you keep enjoying it and keep training. So, I mean, my first race was a 50K an hour for me, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. I think I might try something else. And eventually I got more adventurous. But it took me some time to work up into more crazy things like Hurt and AC. So that would be my
advice. Yeah, good advice. Go ahead, Andy.
I would say pick something that you to that point like that you get excited about. I picked. I've sought out. I didn't seek out a distance. I sought out somewhere that I wanted to go. So my first race was Grand Mesa. I'd read about it and really researched it, and so I went in excited to go to to a place I'd never been before. And so for my first, I started ultra running when I was living in Boulder, Colorado, and I had kind of just moved there. And so I just used ultra running as a way to go see a bunch of places that I'd never been to, Montana and to New Mexico, and see all these different locations. And so that would always get me excited to not just run the race, but to go there too. So it was always kind of an extra carrot, and that's also why Hurt's great, is because it gives you an extra carrot and something to kind of work for.
I made fun of it, but it is beautiful. I mean, it's really awesome. Yeah. It's definitely
The other thing I would say is, and especially this is more for your first 100, is don't imagine you're running 100 miles. When you get to that starting line, never think about running 100 miles. And I know that going to my first race, you get there and you're like, all right, this is it. I have to run 100 miles. And if you do that, you're instantly it's such an unable, like an insurmountable distance to even imagine what that's like. So now I go in a race just totally almost like blank. It's sort of like you have to be kind of like zen about it and just not imagine that it's 100 miles. You just have to run from aid station to aid station, and that's honestly that's actually probably the best advice is don't run 100 miles, run between aid stations, and eventually those will add up to 100 miles.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's advice that I'm going to use. But I'm definitely on board with the Elan advice as far as picking a race that might be local to you. And Raul in the chat room also mentioned because you can train on the course. Yeah. And I think that's a huge added benefit where you can get those training miles and those long distances on the course. You're familiar with the course. So when you race it, you know exactly what's coming. You know that there's a hill here. You know how to pace up the hill or down. You know, you can speed up here and make up time here. It's so beneficial. And like Andy said, we want to be doing this for as long as possible. Yeah. So there's plenty of time to travel. Destination races will always be there. You can always pick the next year to do that. I know that we have this fear of missing out. We want to do everything as soon as possible. Pace it, you know. That's what I'm learning this year. That's the first lesson I've learned this year in 2015 is relax and pace it. Don't worry. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to do those things.
I think to add to that, too, on top of what you just said, Ethan, for your first 100, is really seeing the course. I mean, from my experience, so I've tried 200s, Pine to Palm, which I DNF'd, and now I am bringing it up, Andy. And then AC 100, and the biggest difference, more so than my training and my physical ability and how much I'd been running, was that AC, I knew almost all of the course pretty well. I mean, I'd seen a lot of it in training runs and really gotten comfortable being out in that area. And maybe not even, you don't have to do the exact trails, but know the area. And for Pine to Palm, it was my first 100, and I went into it so unknown with what was out there. You can't look at a course map and a general idea of the terrain, people's stuff without, at least for your first, you're missing so much. And so if you can do something that, like, you know, when you're going to be really miserable 20 hours in or really hurting, and you can draw from, like, okay, I remember this section's a little bit easier. I know, like, this is what it takes me to get me there. I drew a lot from that in AC for sure. It definitely helped me.
Yeah, I think you can also simulate that with reading a lot of race reports, though. That's with me. I'm super anal about preparing for races. I'm sure Elan can tell you. I'm like crazy anal about drop bags and planning and all my charts and stuff. And so when I go into a race, obviously it's all gonna go to crap anyway. But I think it's almost more of the exercise of making all that stuff and planning all that stuff out, and the action of doing that forces you to learn the race, and so when you go into it, you feel like you know the race pretty well. Yeah. That's kind of how I plan it, and I know that I'm not going to look at like my pace charts I'll look at it like twice during the race, but I've done all the homework to get to that point, and so I've kind of internalized it. Yeah, so that's it. That's a huge thing.
That's setting yourself up for success, but then also being comfortable with, like, you know, your race is going to change no matter what you put on paper. There's rarely a day where you run anything exactly what you planned, so just being cool with, like, yeah, I'm running faster or slower, this section's harder, that section's easier, so there's, like, that middle ground of both of those.
A good question from KO is, how do you guys plan your travel or where you're going to stay for these sort of races, especially in Hawaii? I've used Airbnb in the past. Obviously, Andy, you're staying in a beautiful, some sort of palace. And Elan, you're also in some sort of castle in Aspen. How do you guys find these places? I mean, is there an easy way for you to find lodging at destination races?
Yeah, I think Airbnb is an easy way to go. I think generally with hundreds, I try to take into account that you're one night you're not even going to be there. So if you're trying to be price conscious, just know you're not gonna. It's a wasted night of a room, which is kind of crappy. But then also, that next day when you come back and you pass out, you want to pass out on like a bed that's halfway decent. And also the thing that I realized last night or coming in yesterday morning was like a room with a bathtub, so that you can just sprawl out and just lay under the water and not move for 20 minutes. Because that's like one of the all-time best things about hundreds is when you're done and just laying in the bathtub. And we just had this crappy little like shower in my Waikiki hotel room last night, and I was just like, damn it, I didn't think about the bathtub. So that's like the one thing that afterwards, like you never think about it, and then you get there and it sucks. So I don't know. I guess my advice is find a room with a bathtub.
Elan, any specific advice from you?
I'm still playing the 20-year-old card, so my last 2 nights of sleep are running with him the whole night, a red-eye flight to Aspen, and then that is my bed for the next week. So you don't want to have it all down in your 20s, right? I'm definitely sleepy as shit.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, it was so cool. It was so awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I didn't plan on having to go straight to Aspen. It kind of came up a little bit later, but just roll with it.
What was one of your favorite experiences from the race, Andy? What is going to be probably one of the most memorable moments for you?
Most memorable moment was 2 minutes before I finished, I think. Like I said earlier, we spent the last about an hour just like pushing as hard as we could, because we knew if we ran that section in an hour and 20, I could make it in under 28 hours. And you have this one bridge you go over at the very end of your loop. You go over this one little bridge, and then you run a little bit, and then go over this other little bridge, and then you kind of just take a road down. and you just take this little trail down into the nature center, you're done. And I know at the end of the race, we didn't talk about this, but you kiss a sign, and then you get to ring this bell, and that's awesome. But I think the more memorable moment was actually when I saw the bridge, and I told Elan, I was like, dude, I'm gonna kiss the sign, and I'm gonna ring the bell, and it dawned on me that we had done it, and we had done it in the time that we had set out to do. And so it's funny. So I think the moment, like, realizing it was almost better than actually doing it, which sounds kind of weird, but it was like that moment of like, yes, it is, we have completed it. And then when I completed that seemed like the end of it, but I don't know, it was cooler to know that you'd finished it than to actually finish it, I think.
Did you get emotional? I get emotional when I run, and it's especially if it's a huge effort. Do you?
I have in my last few races. I did it Pine to Palm. Same thing. I like pushed really crazy at the end. I usually kind of tear up. I also get it when people say my name when I come into aid stations sometimes, when they've learned your name, and the Hurt volunteers were so awesome that it was almost too much. Like everybody was like, "Yeah, Andy," coming in, and so it kind of almost you felt like you knew everybody. It was almost desensitizing. I mean, it was awesome. But no, I didn't cry as much. I don't cry. I tear up, and I didn't really get that way in this one. But I found that I do more now. I didn't used to, but now I kind of do. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and shit.
Yeah, older and shit. Nothing even gets you emotional anymore. What about you, Elan? Did you just were you bawling like a baby? Because you look like a crier.
I am a crier. Yeah. I wasn't bawling pacing, but it's funny. This is the third time I paced somebody, and each time they've been able to finish. So I really love that part of it. And it's totally a different sensation than being able to finish your own race because for the 2 out of 3 times it was with really, really close running friends, and so it's awesome to see them hit their goals and like really get something special out of that day, and just being able to, I think that pacers do help, but at the end of the day, Andy got from A to Z or did 5 loops, and so it's cool to just kind of be someone behind him watching that, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's good trail karma too, if anybody feels like they need brownie points.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you learn a lot that way.
Just overall.
Yeah. Now, what about racing in 2015? What does the upcoming racing schedule look like for you guys? I mean, Andy, you're fresh off a 100-miler. I would not blame you if you just said future races, I'm relaxing for a bit.
I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done. But Elan, I'm curious about your schedule for sure. Andy, if you have any other races coming up, let me know. I want to know. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I've got in a month. I'm going to see how I feel. I've got a bunch of ultra adventure races. All Matt Gunn's race series, his Grand Circle Trail series is awesome. So like he does Zion and Bryce, and he's added a bunch of new races this year. So in a month I'm probably going to go to the Antelope Canyon, maybe 50 or 55K. We'll see how I feel. 50 mile or 55K. Capitol Reef is right after that. I think. Monument Valley is right after that. In March I'm going to do that. Sangre in April, which basically is like I've done part of that course before. It's basically like a half hurt. I mean, I ran part of that on Magion, and that's another just brutal course. Super technical. Then Capitol Reef in July, and then AC on August 1st. And then there's this new race that's put on by Lazarus that does Barkley Marathons. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's called the Biggs Backyard Ultra. Have you heard of this, Ethan?
I've heard the name Biggs Bag Ultra. Is it part of the Biggs Backyard Ultra? Is it part of the Barkley's course? Is it in that same park?
No, it's in Laz's. I think it's like literally like in his backyard area, and so I love the concept. I really want to do it. I hope he puts it on again this year. It's been in October the last 2 years, but it's a little bit over a 4-mile course, and you go out, and every hour you just have to complete a loop, and there's no set time and no set distance, so it just becomes who can go out and just do another loop and do another loop every hour, and so it just keeps going until people start giving up and more people start giving up, and then it's just two people running and then two people running and then somebody has to decide to drop, and then the winner. So basically everyone DNFs except for the winner, because
God.
they set the distance. Yeah,
that's incredible.
So
that's
it's
amazing.
I love the idea. I think last year the winner was like 145 miles was the guy that won. So, but it's every hour, so it's like, again, it's a little bit it's a different strategy. So I really want to do that. I hope he puts it on again this year. I'm going to try to go out for that. But I'm kind of excited about like new race formats like that people are kind of finding more interesting stuff to do. I think we've kind of got to the point where we're doing 100 miles was the standard, and now you see all these 200s popping up, and now I think we're going to start seeing all these different formats that are, that are going to be ride-in tie has always been around, but it never got a ton of love. But I think I'd like to see a lot more experiments with kind of formats like that.
Yeah, I dig that. I think that sounds brutal.
Yeah.
Because they're out there for over 30 hours just running the same 4-mile loop. That sounds terrible. It sounds absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. Elan, what about you? What you got coming up? I know you got Sean O'Brien.
Yeah, I'm hopefully doing Sean O'Brien 100K. I've been having a little bit of foot pain and just kind of a lot of travel, and so training's been up and down. And I'm a little fickle on doing the 100K, but I'm going to try to make a decision this week. But I'd love to do that. And then my A race for the year, I don't race quite as much, but I got into San Diego 100, so that's kind of my focus, and that's in July. Yeah, I'm really excited to do that. Yeah, that's where I paced Josh at a couple years ago, and it was kind of one of like, okay, I want to do a 100-mile after watching what he went through and what he was able to get out of it. It was pretty special, so I'm excited to go back there. And then I'm signed up for AC. Andy's probably heard me talk about it like 10 times. I want to do AC, but then there's also what he mentioned, one of those 200-mile races, the Cascade 200 or the Bigfoot. Yeah, the Bigfoot 200.
Right.
That Candace puts on, and I keep looking at the sign-up page. It's a week after AC, so I'm either gonna do AC or possibly do that. It's not a cheap race, but it looks so interesting, and I used to thru hike a little bit more, and I kind of miss that, and I think it's kind of an in-between. There's 6 sleep stations, so I'd be up for something different, but I also have a pool to get back to AC, and it's so hard to get in now, and kind of such a special LA race that,
yeah,
I don't know, one of those two, but that'll be it. Definitely will do 3 races for the most for the year.
Yeah, is the Bigfoot 200, that's up in the Cascades, right? That's Washington State?
Yeah, it's a point-to-point through the Cascades, starts in Washington, finishes in Oregon. It looks beautiful awesome. And like just so different, and yeah, it's got some cool sleep stations. So
Elan caught the auto-tune bug.
Sleep station, so you turn into a robot.
Yeah, that's what we've been getting from you, Andy, was robot auto-tune, and now Elan.
There's that kind of managing.
It's a virus.
Not just.
But that's great, because the Cascade Crest 100 is the 100 that I'm running at the end of or in August as well, and that runs very similar course up on the PCT through most of the Cascade Range in Washington, and it's one of these beautiful locations that I grew up visiting all the time as a kid, and it's epic, it's beautiful up there, and the weather that time of year is amazing. So if you do the 200,
when is the Cascade?
August.
Yeah. Wait.
29th or something.
Well,
cool.
Yeah,
if I don't do the 200.
Oh well.
Dude.
Sorry, man. All we're getting is.
I would love to come out there with you and crew and pay if you don't have anybody yet. Maybe.
I think he's offering to pace you.
Oh, is that what's going on? Oh, Elan, yeah, let's talk about that, because I'm still putting together the crew that's going to go up. I have a couple people picked out that will potentially help film the race, because I'm going to need a couple filmers and filmographers and stuff like that. But who knows with pacers and crew? I'll have to, we'll stay in touch, because I'm going to need someone that knows what the fuck they're doing. And so, Andy, that's why I'm asking you, Andy, if you want to come up to Cascade. That's I'm actually going to call it there, guys, just because we are running into internet signal issues, and I want to let these guys go. They both have done a lot this weekend, and I want to make sure that they get the time to rest, relax, and enjoy their scenery. Those of you who are watching live, again, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm here every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to tune in next Monday. Got a great show coming up. Can't wait for that one. And again, Andy and Elan, let people know where they can find you. Andy, let's start with you.
Sure. Facebook.com/Andy Pearson. Tumblr at IEvenRanThisFar.tumblr.com. Instagram is IEvenShotThis, and Twitter is IEvenWroteThis.
Excellent. And Elan, where can people find you?
In Aspen.
Yeah, sorry, Elan. We just, I think we lost your audio there. People can find Elan Lieber on Facebook and Instagram at Elan J. Lieber. Go ahead and search him out and drop him a line. Say what's up. He's got good photos, too. He does a lot of work with Toms and coffee and all sorts of cool stuff. He'll be at the X Games this weekend, or this whole week. Leading up to it, so you'll
and one more plug for PMR.
Oh yeah, the hat, man! I forget to ask. Talk to us about PMR.
You can also find us just on Facebook. Search Pacific Mountain Runners or PacificMountainRunners.com. It's just kind of a crew in LA that we're just getting started, and we're kind of trying to put a team together and trying to hook up, hopefully, with some other teams. And I think that's going to be kind of the next wave of stuff that happens with ultra running as well. Is moving into sort of team competition, non-elite teams, and so we're kind of going to work on a lot of stuff. We're going to have some training programs we're going to be doing, writing some really funny T-shirts. Mostly, that's kind of what we're doing right now. But we're kind of moving into a sort of a team thing, but letting everyone come out and just train hard with us, and catch a piece of the Pacific Mountains. So that's our deal.
It's a great plug for the Pacific Mountain Runners, which is Andy Pearson. It's also Dom Grossman, who's been on the show. Katie DeSplinter, who paced me at North Face 50 Miler, as well, has been on the show. She's awesome. Her and Dom are both of course, awesome. Guillaume Calmette. Who am I missing?
Michael Shimon.
Michael Shimon, who's worked on me, physical therapy. Dude, total pro, has gotten me back to running from some injuries, and it's awesome crew. So Pacific Mountain Runners, and they have a cool website and cool gear and their hat. I like the hat and the T-shirts and stuff. So go check them out, guys.
This is the hat from I ran this whole with this on, so it smells like shit right now.
It looks great. It held up great.
It looks great. Yeah. See, quality stuff.
Quality stuff. So that's it. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. You guys are all dynamite. That's right.
Yep.
Amazing. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, man.